Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
These are good problems to have, right? So much success that you have more than one place to be.
5-3, touchdown, Oregon.
Off a dribble, launches, and hits the three. Oregon leads.
What a great opportunity it is to be able to play at University of Oregon.
I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of something like this.
She wants another three. Oh, three in a row.
Big Ten champions.
National champions, yes. The Ducks take home an indoor national title.
We are so privileged and so fortunate. We get to see all these young people. We get to see this incredible growth, which is what college is all about.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
Happy Friday, Duck Insider here in our Country Financial Studio. Duck Insider brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Happy to have you along with us. I'm Chris Clayton. It is another big weekend, and it starts today. This is a big show, and there's a lot to go over. First of all, I know that a lot of people have been excited about and looking forward to details on the Oregon Athletic Department equipment surplus sale. We're going to go through some of those details. We'll talk Oregon softball as they start their series today over in Minnesota for the first time ever. Oregon baseball starting this weekend. They're not playing today. They're going to play tomorrow and then a doubleheader on Sunday before playing Georgetown on Monday. So some news there if you're looking forward to baseball today. Unfortunately, it'll be pushed to tomorrow due to weather. Ryan Milano will still have the call-in coverage for that one coming up tomorrow. Later on in the program, we hear from Saul Galvan. He's the KWVA Assistant Sports Director and the voice of Oregon softball as KWVA is making the trip over to call those games. So you'll be able to watch softball in Big Ten Plus and or listen on KWVA to those games as the Ducks start today. Also, part 2 later on in the program today of a conversation with Katie Harbert. She discussed things with Joey Mack yesterday. She's the Associate Athletic Director for Student Athlete Development. Talked about her work with the O Heroes program, talking about student athlete success off the field and more. We'll have part 2 of that conversation going on later in the program. Okay, this is exciting. I've been seeing questions about this within the chat for those who watch this on YouTube and on Facebook in the last few weeks. They say, hey, what's going on with the surplus sale? Well, it was released today. Go to GoDucks.com. You can check out the release, maybe even check your emails. Saturday, May 3rd, the official day for the surplus sale. That'll be at the Mashofsky Center. And priority access tickets are up right now. You need to go in there and access those and get yourself, if you're a season ticket holder or a Duck Athletic Fund donor, those are eligible for those priority access tickets. And you could start lining up early at that 7:30 a.m. is the time that those with priority access can line up. That will be at the northwest doors of the Mashofsky Center near the Duck Store. And then from there, once you get your priority tickets and you're in that line, there will be a lottery to determine the entry of those. And you have to RSVP by May 1st at 5 p.m. So those are the rules for those priority access tickets. For general admission, fans will be allowed to start lining up at 9 a.m. and you'll be admitted at 10:30 a.m. for what products remain after the priority access folks go through. For the general admission fans, those will be lining up the southeast corner of the Mashofsky Center facing Autzen. Well, they'll have a lottery access to determine the entry there as well. So if you follow the rules, whether your ticket's priority access or general admission, you'll get into a lottery to determine specifically who gets in first if you get there in time. So my point is, it's not an absolute madhouse. It's not a fight to get to the front of the line. If you follow the rules, get there on time within those parameters, then everybody has basically an equal chance of getting in with the lottery for that surplus equipment that'll be on sale. If you're looking for all those, I know I throw a lot of information at you there. The full release is available on GoDucks.com and probably in a lot of Duck fans, not probably, but certainly a lot of Duck fans' email as well for more information on how to get those tickets and access that equipment. Surplus sale is something that everybody looks forward to every year. And again, Saturday, May 3rd is the day, so pencil it into your calendar. Okay, so just to touch on baseball for a bit here. Again, Oregon baseball not playing today as originally planned. They'll be playing tomorrow all the way over on the East Coast at Maryland, a 1 p.m. start time tomorrow, and then a doubleheader on Sunday starting at 9 a.m. Kind of an interesting trip for Oregon. They were able to cram in a game against Georgetown on Monday as well. For the Ducks, still sitting at number 15 in the country right now. Oregon entering that game with a 22-9 record. They're 10-5 in Big Ten play. Right now sitting behind UCLA and Iowa in the Big Ten standings, taking on a Terrapins program that is 3-9 in Big Ten play. So the Ducks, 3-4 their last 7 games, but look, the big picture reality here, still 23 games left, and Oregon still plays UCLA and Iowa, the 2 teams ahead of them in the standings. So look, I know Oregon's trying to find that consistency. They're not necessarily happy about some of the games they've lost, but they're winning these series. And all their goals are still in front of them. And those teams they're trying to catch, they're playing them. So the opportunities are still there for Oregon baseball. They're still ranked 15 in the country. So plenty of positives, and I think the best is yet to come for this Oregon baseball program. For Oregon softball, they are playing today. It is game day for the Ducks. Number 4 Oregon playing in Minneapolis at Minnesota. The first time in program history the Ducks are playing in Minnesota. Their teams have played before, but never in Minnesota. So that will be available on Big Ten Plus starting today at 3 p.m. is first pitch for that one. And again, like I said, the University of Oregon student radio station, KWVA, does such a great job calling and carrying those games. They're making the trip out there, and they will carry those games with the first pitch tomorrow at 11 and then Sunday capping off the series at 10 a.m. Lot to like for Oregon softball, right? I mean, 35-4. They're 9-1 in Big Ten play. Right now in a 3-way tie for first with Northwestern and UCLA, 2 terrific programs. And on paper, certainly Oregon a heavy favorite in this series with Minnesota. Minnesota entering this series with the Ducks 3-10 in Big Ten play. But that's part of the challenge for Oregon. Is this the type of game that can turn the season around for Minnesota? This is a huge opportunity for the Gophers. The target is on the back of the Ducks. So far, they have been able to find that consistency and rise to the challenge. The Ducks, some of these stats really pop off the page incredible. Second in the country in ERA. Oregon has challenged themselves with a really tough schedule this year. Second in the nation in ERA. Lindsey Grimes specifically leading the Big Ten with a 1.03 ERA this year. And by the way, another great option in the circle, Elise Sokolsky, her last 13 2/3 in 3 appearances, she's only allowed 1 earned run. So Oregon really has 2 stars in the circle, an incredible luxury for Oregon. And offensively, the depth is there. All 9 starters in the batting order for the Ducks are batting at least 300. The base running, 128 steals this year. That leads the Big Ten. So you talk about pitching consistency, the bats, the base running, it's all there. And by the way, those stolen bags, a school record for Oregon already. 128 steals, still about a month left of the season, and they've already shattered the record. Incredible, and it's only building. Now, Oregon 4th in the country right now with those stolen bags, but with respect to all the teams around them, they're mostly smaller conference schools. So Oregon, despite the top-notch competition they faced, they are stealing bags at an incredible rate. The next closest power conference team to Oregon in terms of stolen bases is Alabama at 15th with 2.23 stolen bases per game. Oregon is at 3.28. So I think it's safe to say Oregon might be the most dangerous team in the country on the base paths, among all the other things that we discussed. So lots to like. Big reason Oregon's 35-4. Earlier this week, head coach Missy Lombardi talked to the media about the state of the team and the series ahead with Minnesota. Here's Ducks head coach Missy Lombardi.
Beat a dead horse over and over, but could you just speak to Kai's, what it's like having that kind of speed? I was going through I don't think going back historically, you've had a player with that number of steals. I think Angie Howell in 97, when you were still a student at Oklahoma, is the closest. So in the course of your coaching career, Kai is kind of an anomaly. I mean, you've had fast players, but she's kind of that unicorn. What it's like having the unicorn on your team?
It's great. For her, she's such a table setter for us, and for her to be able to think of table setters, right? Their job is to get on. So now think of an advanced table setter who gets on and turns that into a double. And then think about plays that somebody typically wouldn't score on or advance on, and she scores and she advances. So it's just, it makes her elite in what she does, because, you always hear the term speed kills. That's exactly what she's doing right now.
I know that she didn't exactly point to any changes from last year this year, but you as a coach, have you noticed anything change? Because you don't see that type of improvement without some sort of level of effort in the offseason.
I think her jumps are really good, but I just think we're more aggressive with her this year. That's what I think is the biggest difference. I think we're just giving her the green light. We should have given her the green light that much more last year. But I just think giving her the green light more, and then obviously you look up the lineup that's surrounding her, that's different as well.
So I guess you just kind of diving into that a little bit, it's kind of like having a weapon that you have to kind of utilize or understand how to utilize it best, and that would explain the growth. Seeing how best to implement that weapon, and now you guys have the ability to kind of put that into practice.
Yeah, I think so. She's just she's nothing too. She's a senior. This is it. She does not want to get thrown out. So how she talks to you about every single pitch, she treats it like an individual. She does the same thing. Every time she takes off, she wants to make sure she's good to go because she's not getting thrown out. That is her mindset. So I think she's just in a really good place right now. I think she's got great support around her with the offense that is built around her. Last year there was a lot for her to have to get on, and we would love for her to continue to get on, but we don't have to. I just feel like we're more complete this year.
She said earlier she didn't imagine herself, being a leader early on, and is kind of transitioned in that role. When did you see that Kai had that ability to be a leader on this team, and how she blossomed into that?
I think she's always had the ability. I think one was getting herself individually in a really good place. Sometimes you have young people that you could tell they're going to be leaders, but the first thing they need to do is just kind of get them right. And so you could see her get herself right. And then once she did that, it was about people respect what she has to say. I think she does a great job of being able to call people up to the standard, and talk to them in a different way. Sometimes you don't do something right because somebody comes at you and you just are quickly to get on the defense and you're not hearing anything they have to say. You want to just be able to say why you did what you did and that it was right. And I think the way she goes about it, I think the time well spent, the investment that she has in our athletes, really, when she has something to say, people want to listen. So great leaders understand who they're leading and then what they need to do to get the very best out of them. And that's what I feel from Kai.
Going into this weekend, playing Minnesota, what are the goals or the kind of punch list that you have? What do you want to see the team accomplish that you guys have been working on, and things like that?
I think preparation is our preparation there. From there, yes, and then now it's process. What is our process in the game? And I think when we do those two things, we do really good things. I think when we start to get more caught up in outcome or other things that don't matter, that's when we get in trouble a little bit. So are we prepared? If so, yes. How great was our process?
At the beginning of the season, there was a lot of hype, a lot of hope for what this program could do this season, and it felt like this was going to be a changing year. Now we've seen it on paper midway through the season. Do you feel like you guys are right at the expectations or the what you envisioned at the beginning of the season? Do you feel like you've exceeded that, and where do you kind of go from here? How do you continue to improve further down the stretch as we now get closer and closer to postseason ball?
Yeah, I think we've got to continue to improve. We talked about offensively that if we were to get out once, that we wouldn't get out the same time twice. You think about on defense, that understanding how to make whatever type of play it is, but that we make it on the mound, being able to command and change speeds. These are all process things that we're doing these things right, but now you have to continue to advance in these areas because it's going to only continue to get tougher and tougher. We're feeling like we're playing at our best right now. Well, so is everybody else. So these process things, how do we continue to elevate what we're doing versus just thinking what we have right now is good enough?
And maybe I'll follow up with this question later in the season, but you've coached a lot of really good teams in your career. You know what good teams look like, good programs look like. Where does this one just rank in your eyes right now? Because it feels like this is one of the best programs we've seen here in several years at the University of Oregon, one of the best that I've seen in person.
Yeah, this is a good-looking team. Yeah, I've seen this before, and this team has the ability to do whatever they want to do. They do. They have the ability. Like, we can match up. We can match up against anybody. We have all the different tools. It's about them understanding how to repeat what they're doing over and over again at a high level. And when it's a stressful level, when it's, you know what I mean, just being able to handle the pressures that come along with it, and can you repeat at a high level over and over? Like, to me, that's what the great teams look like. They just have that ability, and they're complete. Like, you can see when all three cylinders are flowing here, we're very, very tough to beat. If we've got one, it's not good enough. So we've got to have at least two of the three, but to get where we want, it's about understanding how all three can flow continuously.
Yeah, this team's special. It's fun to hear from head coach Missy Lombardi talking about this team, and you can see if you're watching in her facial expression when she said it. Yeah, this team's really good. They're fun to watch. They're racking up the wins, and they're only getting better. Still a relatively young team overall. Amazing. Number 4 in the country right now, and they'll play later today at 3 p.m. taking on Minnesota. Our softball preview continues next. We'll hear from the voice of Oregon softball. KWVA's Saul Galvan joins us. Coming up next, Duck Insider on a Friday on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
I'm coming home to the place that I remember. Back to the land of my first love. Would you spread wide arms for this wayward son?
Busy weekend in Duck sports once again. It starts today on this Friday. Oregon lacrosse is in action right now. The Ducks are in Ypsilanti, Michigan, taking on Eastern Michigan. It's in the third quarter. There are 10-5 lead for Eastern over Oregon. Beach volleyball playing right now, and they're in a big challenge there. The Ducks taking on 19th-ranked FIU, and it's a good one. It's 2-2. It comes down to the final match. Natasha George and Liz Rossi for Oregon in action, and a chance for the Ducks to get a huge victory over FIU, that one being played right now in Seattle. Our preview of Oregon softball continues. The Ducks taking on Minnesota, actually a bounce-back effort for Oregon. They lost to LMU in a little bit of a surprise earlier this week. They came on the heels of a win streak. It happens. 35-4 record now. So just a rare off day for the Ducks and a loss, but an opportunity to get right back on track. And Joey Mack sat down with the voice of Ducks softball from KWVA, Saul Galvan.
Gonna be fun. We get a chance to catch up with the voice of the Oregon softball team. Saul Galvan is here. Now, you often see Saul in studio, but it's rare that I can convince him to put the headset on and come sit in the comfy chair. Voice of the Oregon softball team. You've had some great calls, a lot of fun this year. How's it been? How are you?
It's been so much fun. What do you mean rare? I'll always hop on a headset, Joey. I will never pass up the opportunity to hop on a headset here with you.
Well, I got to tell everybody. I mean, he does come to the studio. He can do Scott's job. He can do my job. In fact, on Monday night, I asked him to do I didn't tell Scott this. On Monday night, I asked him to do a Duck Insider Open just completely off the cuff, and he did well. He did well, everybody. So you've had a lot of fun this year, haven't you?
I have. No, absolutely. It's been an amazing year, honestly. And again, to get this opportunity to cover this team and be with them from the beginning till the end. I mean, we're only, about 2/3 of the season done with it and postseason coming up, but still, it's just been a super fun season so far.
Well, we had your 2-minute life story in the fall, and now to add to the 2-minute life story, we get to say, the voice of the Oregon softball team. Get to put that on your resume the next couple seasons. So the change this year, you all were used to, for example, in baseball, you'd get the Oregon Sports Network call with our Pac-12 live stream, and now Oregon softball, it was always KWVA's call would be on that live stream. Well, now, similar to me, you get to be a little bit more of the hometown guy. Look at that O on the chest. Look at the O on the chest for the voice of the Oregon softball team. A little bit of broadcaster nerdery here. Like, has that been fun for you that you don't have to don't have to, maybe is the wrong phrase, but you're not like the neutral voice with the new era that we're in with the Big Ten having the neutral TV call, and now you get to be like the hometown radio guy?
I will say I've lost my voice a lot more doing this hometown call than I have the neutral voice, because that's what it is. I mean, you get to kind of just nerd out about the team, and especially for me that I'm with this team so much, like, I just love calling these games and, the ability to just shout out whenever Kedri Lushar walks it off or Kai Lushar steals a stolen base. Again, that's just what being the hometown voice is you kind of just get to be yourself and you get to be so energetic.
And you're a Cubs fan.
Very.
How's that been?
So much fun. Kyle Tucker, the future of this team.
See, and that's where I bring this up because Saul and I have talked about this before. Like, it's a very different thing. I'm so spoiled. I get to call games for my alma mater. You're calling games for your future alma mater. That there's something special about that. I've had conversations with other broadcasters, right, that it's very rare to call games for your alma mater once you leave college. And so you get the opportunity to do that now, which has been so much fun listening. You did go appropriately bananas, by the way, on the Kedri Kai walk-off.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fun weekend, wasn't it?
That was a really fun weekend. And again, it was kind of crazy, too, to see, you went from the Piscataway, New Jersey trip where they scored 41 runs to those three, back-and-forth battles with the Wolverines. It was basically night and day, but they handled themselves well. They handled their business like Coach Lombardi talked about, and they were able to come out 3-0 on the weekend.
And the change to a doubleheader, too. I mean, that changes the calculus. That's when you lose your voice.
Absolutely. No, I only had 30 minutes in between both games to fill out my scorebook. I didn't even have a chance to write all my notes in. I just had to write down the names, maybe write down a couple of key stats or anything, but we just had to get going right away. It's always a challenge, but again, like the team, you have to be ready to just whatever comes your way. You just have to be ready to handle your business.
Well, and I felt like the Ducks get that walk off, then they win 9-1, and then take a day off. Monday happens. I'll just say again that 4 seems to be the lucky number for the Ducks. It was only their 4th loss, something to learn from. Also, they're 4th in all the polls now. This is a good team. Still.
It's a really good team, and I think the ranking definitely shows where they're at right now. This team, when they're firing on all 3 cylinders, this is something that Coach Lombardi talked about. When they're firing on all 3 cylinders, on hitting, on pitching, and on defense, this is a top 5 team in the nation, and you could see it. You see the games against Florida State when they were, maybe they weren't hitting as well, but the pitching and the defense was there. And then you go look at the Piscataway trip. You had hitting, you had pitching, and you even had great defense as well, even though the offense and the defense kind of overshadowed it. But still, when you see this team and when they are playing at their best, they're unbeatable.
You talked about the speed and like a stolen base with Kai Lushar. Put that in context for fans, because I know you've talked about it a lot on your broadcast that I've listened to. Like, here's the leaderboard of individual top stolen base seasons in Oregon history. Ducks broke the individual and the team record the same weekend, which was pretty cool.
Well, to kind of add on to that, too, last year they only had 90 stolen bases, and Coach Lombardi said that before the season that 100 was the goal, and that was throughout the whole season, including postseason as well. at 127 right now, and we still have about 4 or 5 weeks left in the season and the postseason. So that just shows right now the speed and the versatility that they have. And obviously, Kylie Shar is just the forefront of that. She broke the single-season stolen base record this past weekend on Monday, and like it's almost a guarantee. When I see her get on first, I know, okay, she's taking off for second. Whether it's on the first or second pitch, you can almost know. And even if the defense is playing for it, like the catcher knows, they do a pitch out, she still gets on second. That's just how fast she is.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So we're talking here on a Wednesday before Saul gets on an airplane to fly. Have you ever been to Minnesota before?
I've never been to Minnesota. One of the only Midwest states that I have not been to.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought this up, Saul, because I was going to ask you. So you are from the Chicago area.
Yep.
So that means that you are more experienced, shall we say, in Big Ten country than, say, I am. Than, say, the average Duck fan. We talked a little bit about this before, but now that you've made a few trips with the softball team, calling the games, you can always get the hometown call on 88.1, the student radio station, KWVA, KWVAradio.org. Did I miss anything?
I think that's it.
That was it.
And KOCR.
Okay, and KOCR, that's right, in Oak Ridge. Okay. The best trip that you've made so far with Oregon softball.
You see, I knew this question was coming.
How did you know?
Because I know the types of questions because that would be a type of question that I would ask somebody that were there in position. So yeah. Okay. It's been interesting. I think obviously coming off the New Jersey trip, that was pretty fun. I
still can't believe you didn't get a chicken parm.
I gotta shout out the bagels though. Really good bagels. The Taylor ham and egg and cheese. Shout out Olivia Arsenega for putting me on for that. One of our broadcasters for KWVA. But I would probably say. To be honest, I skipped out on the Mary Nutter. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to that one. I think that would have been a good one, too. But I would probably have to say New Jersey right now. But I'm really looking forward to Minnesota and then Indiana in a couple weeks, too. It's just been really cool to go to these places. And to, I went to these schools growing up, and when I was looking for colleges, I took tours of these. I never thought that I'd be back one day coming all the way here to Oregon, but now I get the opportunity to go and just kind of see some friends, see some people that I know, and, just kind of reminisce of the old days.
As somebody who's a product of KWVA myself, the student radio station for the University of Oregon, it's really cool to see them have the opportunity to travel, to call these games, to cover this Oregon softball team that also just happens to be in the midst of an incredible season. So it makes it even more fun for those involved, as Saul, Galvan, and the folks at KWVA following the Ducks as they'll take on Minnesota. Part 2 of the conversation between Joey Mack and Saul Galvan continues when we come back. Duck and Cider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Back to the Country Financial Studios in 60 seconds. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Comes to a gun suicide attempt, all it takes is a moment.
Heather and I had an argument just like any other couple. I was lost. I had snapped. I had a gun and I was going to take my own life. Heather helped me realize that there was still a life to live for the better of myself, my family. My weapon is now safely put away.
A moment of crisis can happen to anyone. Store your guns, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo. Hear more safe stories at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
You know you make me wanna take my heel
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Chris Clayton with you live here in our Country Financial studio. Watch out, back-to-back goals for Oregon lacrosse. The latest coming from Janae Sperling. 10-7. Eastern Michigan leads the Ducks, but Oregon, a lot of time left. There's still 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. We'll try and keep track of that as that progresses. Unfortunately, beach volleyball did drop that final match, the final point to Florida International. So 19th ranked FIU narrowly able to beat the Ducks in beach volleyball 3-2. But that's the thing about a sport like beach. Wipe the slate clean and keep it moving. The Ducks are playing the Huskies in about 15 minutes now. They'll be playing Washington. So an opportunity to get back on track and, of course, beat the Huskies, which is always a fun opportunity for any sport. Part 2 of our conversation continues now. It's the voice of Oregon softball, Saul Galvan. He talked with Joey Mack.
Saul Galvan calling all the action for Oregon softball, again, coming up against Minnesota this weekend. And I want to say that again, like, y'all are traveling for every single road trip with Oregon softball. So whenever you're like, hey, where do I tune in? Basically an extension of the Oregon Sports Network at this point, what the guys at KWVA have been doing. It's outstanding work. The team now, back to the team for a moment. I mean, I imagine that the Rutgers trip was a good one because they also scored so many runs, and that's what this team's capable of to that point. And I wanted to ask you about the length of this lineup because people forget, like, Bracy Rosa, for example, wasn't going to be the starter at catcher. Now is a 300-plus hitter. Just the length of the lineup, put that in context for fans.
Well, I mean, again, you look at the stats right now, 1 through 9, everybody's hitting above 300, which is something that you never see. In softball, in baseball, just any sort of diamond sport, you never get that level of consistency. You know, usually top 5 are the ones that are hitting above 250, and then lower part of the lineup, maybe, you know, you need some help there. But right now, it feels like everybody on this team can help out in some way. And again, you don't usually get that, but that's what makes this team so dangerous right now, is that whether you're in the top of the order with Luchar and Snicky or bottom of the order with Rosa and Jones, just anybody can get the offense going. And, you know, you look at someone maybe like Stephanie Maake as a freshman, she had such a hot start to the season, but then it kind of cooled off at the Jane Sanders Classic where she didn't even get a hit, came back against Washington, got a big double to clear the bases, and then after that, she's really just started to find her rhythm again, and that you can see that she's gotten moved up in the lineup. So it doesn't matter where you put these players, they're just going to hit.
You're around this team, too, and I think that the dynamic's been fun, that you have the Luchars, Paige Sinicki, for example, that are these veterans, but then the lineup is filled with all these freshmen that have all this energy. We all saw the post-game interview antics, for example, with Paige Sinicki and Lindsey Grine, who, again, a veteran but new. Like, what's the team dynamic like? You're around them. Are they having as much fun as they appear to be?
I think they're having more fun when the cameras aren't on them. That's just this team right now. Again, they talk about it every time, you know, whether I speak to them or whether they speak to media. They just love each other so much right now. And this team has really bought into each other for day one because, again, the expectation coming into the season was, okay, how well is this team going to do? They had a lot of holes to fill from last year with such a big senior class leaving. And you know that the freshmen are going to become great at some point. You just don't know how soon it's going to be. And now the whole days with, you know, NIL, the transfer portal, it's always a question, okay, when are they going to, you know, step up to that next level? They've honestly already done that, and it's only their first season. So looking at this freshman class right now, I'm excited for the next 4 years and just everything they're doing, because sometimes you don't get it as a freshman. You know, like if I don't even know if I understood that going to class my freshman year was something important, I probably would have done better my first term. But again, these freshmen know what's at stake, and that's the reason that they're being successful right now. I had to throw that in for you.
He attended every one of my classes in the fall and in the winter of your freshman year.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is a guy, by the way, everyone who's probably got one of the top GPAs in his class. I mean, let's put that to bed.
Revisit with me next year.
All right. Well, we will do that. Yeah, we will do that. Saul Galvan joining us, talking Oregon softball before traveling to Minnesota. You know, the freshmen, though, you talk about, like, the length of the lineup, and I wanted to ask you this, too. Like, the energy that they play with is one thing, but then the power numbers are another. I mean, the freshmen really are the ones that have brought a lot of the long ball to the lineup, and I think that's been a big deal this season.
Absolutely, and like Riley McCoy and Steph, like we were just talking about right now, they're both combined for almost 30 home runs, which, again, the duo right there, you almost thought that, okay, it's going to be the Kylie Shard, Paige Sinicki duo that's going to lead this team, but no, it's the Riley McCoy and Stephanie Maake duo that's leading it with the power. Kedri Luchard's got a ton of home runs, even like Sinicki as well. Only had 2 home runs last season. added a ton of strength in the offseason. Now she's up over 5 on this year. That just shows how much versatility this team has, that they can not only hit the ball and put it in play, but they also have the power to hit it over the wall.
Yeah. What's been your perspective on the Big Ten so far? I mean, like, I know, again, you were more of a Big Ten expert than I was going into this season. You and I talked about this off the air. Like, what do you make of the Big Ten so far in softball?
It's been great, honestly. And you know, you look at a series like Washington where you still get that rivalry. You still get the Huskies to begin the Big Ten series. And that's awesome because I think that's what this team needs. They want to go against their rival. And then you look at a team like New Jersey where you never expect to play them, but it gives you kind of this new perspective where in postseason you never know where you're going to end up, and you have to have that ability to go on the road. You have to travel a long way and still be able to perform well, and I think that's what the Ducks have done. It's another opportunity to prove it this weekend in Minnesota. It's a long trip, even though it's a lot less than New Jersey. Can you refocus? Can you go away from your home turf? And can you have the same production that you had in New Jersey?
In the circle. We talk about like that trip to Rutgers where the offense was so on display. Well, don't forget that the pitching allowed, 1 run to Rutgers? So that's Lindsey Grine, I think, who is a bona fide ace. But now Elise Sokolsky statistically really has emerged as a solid number 2. And if you look at the teams that win in Oklahoma City, it's usually a 1-2 punch. The 1 does a lot, but the 2 is part of why you end up getting there.
I think you just said it perfectly, that usually teams that make it far have one really good pitcher. You can make an argument right now the Ducks have 3 or 4, especially with Sokolsky, just starting to find a rhythm again. You got Stacey Chambers back in the circle. Taylor Spencer starting to find a rhythm again. That's, again, it's similar to the lineup. You don't see that a lot in some of these teams that are in the top 5 where they have multiple players that can easily step up in the same role. And I talked about this, earlier this year, that the versatility, too, among them, that each of them bring their own different thing. Grimes all with the speed, Sokolsky with the off-speed, Spencer the ability to locate her pitches, and then obviously Stacey, the first lefty since Jordan Dale, which that's huge for a rotation to have a
Big
lefty.
deal.
You don't see too many of those in college softball, so the fact the Ducks have it just elevates them to a whole nother level.
Saul Galvan with us talking Oregon softball. He'll have the call coming up for the whole weekend from Minnesota. Now, larger picture. This is big. I said on the show this week that this is a big weekend because you can have momentum going into the UCLA matchup at the Jane. So break it down. What are your thoughts? Am I right in that? I feel like this is huge because first place in the Big Ten could be on the line at the Jane next week.
Yeah, and again, I think that this past weekend was just a great example of how they were able to handle themselves in a situation like that, because Michigan and Oregon were tied for 3rd in the Big Ten standings before Michigan came to play Oregon, and the Ducks came out 3-0, moved them up to first place in a tie for UCLA Northwestern, and those are 2 really great teams right now. UCLA is going to be a battle for sure, but the great thing, though, is that they're going to be playing here at the Jane. Right. And the past weekend against Michigan was unbelievable. I mean, Coach Labari talked about it, that really the Ducks won that second game because of the fans.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, now, Ducks are going to host, right?
Yeah.
That's what we want to hear from Saul Galvan.
I will say, I'd never like to get into that kind of prediction game. I would be a lot more confident, but obviously still a lot of season left. And it's important at this point to just handle your business and get as many wins as possible.
Well, you got to keep winning. I mean, ultimately, you got to keep winning. But the reason I asked that unfairly, nice response, by the way, unfair question. But the truth is, we are a little more than a month away from the start of regionals for softball. And the truth is that being in that conversation is where you want to be. And the Ducks are comfortably in that conversation. In the national picture, I feel like they deserve right now, if the season ended today, they should be hosting.
Absolutely. Look, again, you look at this team's resume right now, a bunch of top 25 wins against notable teams like Florida State, against Tennessee. These are teams that are run ruling other top 25 teams. So the Ducks are just doing things that no other team in the nation is currently doing right now. And, I mean, let's be honest, a regional at the Jane, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
This past weekend,
it's been a while.
I will say, was probably one of the best softball games I've been to. Even in the broadcast booth, I heard the rumble. You can hear the rumble in the stands and the bob out in center field. It gets intense in there. And you wouldn't think so because it's a little bit of a smaller stadium, but that's what makes it better is you can just hear everybody getting loud. Even when the Ducks were down by 3, the crowd was getting into it. And I think that's what won the game.
He's Saul Galvan, voice of the Oregon softball team on KWVA 88.1 FM here in the Eugene area. KWVAradio.org for all your coverage. Have a good trip, all right?
Thanks.
We'll see you when you get back.
Absolutely.
With 3 wins.
Yep.
Our thanks to KWVA Assistant Sports Director Saul Galvan talking about the Ducks softball team and the trip KWVA is making to Minnesota. First pitch coming up now in Just a little over an hour, 3 p.m. as the Ducks take on the Gophers in Game 1 of that series. A little lacrosse update. Oregon has scored 6 goals in a row. They have taken the lead. It's 11-10. What a third quarter, 6-1 for the Ducks. Brie Carasquillo has a hat trick, and Oregon has an 11-10 lead at Eastern Michigan. Show continues next. When we come back, we hear from Katie Harbert, part 2 of the conversation, the UO Associate Athletic Director, sitting down with Joey Mack. Next, Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear Truckin' Awesome, Toyota Tundra's got heart-pounding horsepower. Tacoma is one rugged ride, and the 4Runner is tough as nails. Truck yeah. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear Truckin' Awesome, Toyota Tundra's got heart-pounding horsepower. Tacoma is one rugged ride, and the 4Runner is tough as nails. Truck yeah. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Duck Insider continues from the Country Financial Studios in 1 minute on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
You say you never give in to a meltdown and never fill your feed with kid photos. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it and never let them run wild through the grocery store. So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, no, it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, live in our Country Financial studio. Duck Insider brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Chris Clayton here with you. Katie Harbert sat down with Joey Mack. She's the UO Associate Athletic Director for Student Athlete Development. She talked with Joey about her work with the O Heroes program, talking about student athlete success and enabling them to do so on and off the field. And she had a conversation. We played part 1 of the interview between those two yesterday. If you'd like to go back and watch that, that's on Facebook and on YouTube as well. But here is part 2 of the conversation with Joey Mack and Katie Harbert.
I'm curious too, like there are certain programs that get talked about, but I was hoping to spend a little time on a few of these. And maybe let's start with SAC, Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Mm-hmm. So give fans that aren't aware the nutshell of what it is and everything that happens around.
Within SAC,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so my best explanation of SAC is it's like a student government. So we have ASUO on our campus. You had your high school, president, whatnot. So it's like that. It's really a student government for our student athlete population. Mm-hmm. They're the voice of our athletes here to our administration, to our conference, and then also at the NCAA level. And here specifically our SAC, we actually operate a little differently than many of them. We don't have that kind of hierarchical structure because it just doesn't really fit for us. And so we really operate with committees. And so it's very much a student-led group. Our job is to support them, empower them, teach them leadership skills, and then kind of set them up to run with it. But really a lot of what our SAC does is they are absolutely the voice of our student athletes, but they also, I think, really are responsible for building that sense of community amongst our student athletes. So we have a great culture here where, baseball's friends with the lacrosse team and acro's friends with the men's golf team. And there's just
so
a
much
lot.
cross-sport support.
There is. Yep. And I think SAC is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they're just a really amazing group. every Wednesday night, I absolutely leave feeling inspired because, like, if this is who is going to lead our, the next generations, we're going to be
okay.
Yeah, I love them. Yeah.
I'm in. Now, you also mentioned, too, like the service to the community and how important that is. Oh Heroes is that in a nutshell, and I know you're heavily involved in everything that Oh Heroes does. Same question. Give us the snapshot and what's going on in Oh Heroes right now.
Yes. So Oh Heroes is really our community service branch of the student-athlete population. So anytime they're out in the community, it's really under that umbrella. Pre-COVID, we were hitting about 4,000 hours of service hours, which is great. We're slowly climbing back up out of that COVID hole, but I think we're going to actually be real close this year to hit that number, which is super exciting. But, Eugene, going back to my cookie story, our student athletes are the local celebrities here and across the entire state. And so trying to get many of them to understand that when a lot of them aren't from here, it can take a bit, but usually once they get a taste of it, it's like, oh, I get it now.
They're
like
the stars.
we're really we're important, and not just because of the celebrity status, but because they're good people who can impact and help others. And so we get a ton of requests from the community, a lot of schools, but we want to serve those requests as much as possible, of course. And also, I always tell our athletes, like, you also have things you're passionate about, so we want to help you fulfill those passions. And I think one of my favorite stories of that is Brittany Mann, who was a track athlete here. I can't remember what year it was, but she was taking ASL classes, and she noticed we were doing a lot to help our, local sports teams, and we held Quack in Action, which we brought kids to do sports. But there's this whole deaf and hard of hearing population of students in the state who weren't able to engage. And so she had an idea and a vision where she wanted to do a field day with this population, and she enlisted the other student athletes who were also taking those classes. She built a bridge with the ASL club on campus. She got some of the professors who taught those classes to help set it up. It was at Pape. We invited, I think it ended up being sent to all of, there's a association or something. There's some group that works with these students across the whole state. So they invited them all. I think we had about 80
That's
or
awesome.
so come. It was the quietest field day I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
But I mean, my eyes were literally brimming with tears the entire time because of how inspiring it was, and it was such a good and important day. So, and that was all student athlete led, and we just helped her. So that's one example of them, fulfilling kind of a dream and an idea that they wanted to do. So we try to get them to do that as well.
And that's just one example, right? And so, and similarly, you and I were talking before we got going here, like something that you're really proud of is Courts for Kids. I mean, you talk about an impactful program for student athletes, helping the community, but also beyond what they're doing in the traditional student athlete sense. I mean, just how cool has the Courts for Kids program been?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my most proud programs to be a part of, and we've been engaging with Courts for Kids back in 2012, which was our very first trip to the Dominican Republic.
Wow.
I can remember trying to figure out how we were planning this trip, and before we had hooked up with them, I was trying to literally plan like travel in another country from here, and that's just that's impossible. And so they're a really great organization to partner with us for us. And student athletes, are a group. A lot of them have an interest and a desire to go and experience another culture and to go abroad. It's nearly impossible during the school year, or it's impossible, and then that leaves summer, and it's still really difficult for a lot of them in summer because they're training and everything else. And so we were like, we've got 9 days. We've got 1 week and 2 weekends, and it's 9 days. What can we do? And so great organization. We go and it makes sense. Their mission is about spreading sports across the world. It's universal language. Kids, you show up anywhere and they want to play. And so what we're doing is usually we end up in a relatively rural community and wherever we are, and we help them basically lay a basketball court or cement. And so they use it not only for basketball, but every sport possible. Often it's the center of their village or town or community. And so it's also where they hold celebrations, dances, weddings, parties, church ceremony, whatever it is. It's like kind of the flat surface. And so it's really used in a lot of different ways. It's basically a multi-purpose flat space.
That's amazing.
But so fun. And for our athletes, they're in the community. It's very much with the community, not for the community. And so they're living with them. They're eating the same meals. They're using the same facilities in all the way you might.
Talk about an experience, right?
Yeah, it's an experience. So it's very eye-opening. big dose of perspective.
Yeah.
It also, I mean, the bonds that are built amongst our athletes is always amazing. They don't have their phones, so their phones are deposited into a plastic box when they get into that bus. They don't get it back till they get back to the airport. So for them now, when in 2012 when we started this was not even the conversation, but now it's a big part of our conversation. Is what is life like without your phone? And they love it.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard so many great stories over the years now from student-athlete staff that have gone on these trips and just how amazing it is for all the reasons that you said. That's awesome. Associate Athletic Director for Student-Athlete Development, Katie Harbert, our guest. Okay, I have a few more things, and then we're going to have to do this again. I told you it was long overdue getting all this info from Katie. Well, now, as your career has developed, you talk about your bucket being large. Your bucket got bigger when you got the sport administrator responsibilities.
Yes, yeah.
What's that been like, transitioning into being the sport admin for a few programs?
Yeah, it's really fun. And I am somebody who loves to learn, like anything. I love learning. And so this, for me, it's been really fun as it's a whole nother thing to learn here, role to learn. And I love it. I think for me, you know, in student athlete development, we work with all the teams. And so all 500 athletes, but I always felt like because of that, I was never really on a team, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so this for me, you know, I get to rep my lacrosse shirt.
Yep.
It really feels again like I'm like back on a team, and I also love learning and I love teams, and so it's really it's a blessing to get to be in this role too. I definitely don't take it for granted, and I love every minute of that too.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see. At least for me, like we were joking a little before we started. Like we started athletic director Tuesday. It used to be just Rob Mullins every week, and now we've expanded to so many different people, which gives us a chance to talk to folks like yourself. And you know, it's a lot of work. I know it is. It's a lot of work, all the administration and just the being a sport liaison. So everyone, please understand, like, it is a ton of work to go through and do everything that you're doing. So I want to end with this, like, something that the community maybe doesn't know about student athletes. And we've covered, I think, a lot of it maybe in this conversation. But put that in a nutshell, if you could. Like, in your work, what's something you would want the community to know about the student athlete body here?
Yeah, I guess so. Because I'm heavily involved in the community, I feel like the community really just they see them in their sport. And, of course, we know that they're a student athlete, so we know about the academic side too. And so I think for me in my role, you know, it's that's just such a small part of who they are and like what they are going to accomplish in their life. And so, and sometimes I want them to know this too. You know, I absolutely love the population of student athletes. They're so diverse from so many different backgrounds, and what they're going to do in their lives is just like, I mean, like I said, like I can't wait to see what they accomplish both in and out of their sports, because they're very inspirational. They overcome a lot to do what they do on the field, and it would be awesome if people could see all of that too.
Under tremendous pressure.
Under tremendous pressure.
Constantly. Yep. Katie Harbert, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks
you are
for having
welcome
me.
back anytime. Anytime. Say
Thank
the
you.
word, and we'd love to have you again.
Great. Thank you.
It's fun to hear from people like her in her position. I mean, the show is literally called Duck Insider. So it's nice to hear that insight and kind of a different look as the Associate AD for Student Athlete Development, Katie Harbert, joined the program. We'll wrap up the show next and wrapping up the week on this Friday. Duck Insider concluding on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield next.
Hey, Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial.
Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Back to the Country Financial Studios in 60 seconds. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow. You sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
I want you to know. I said I want you to know right now. You've been good to me, baby.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union, live in our Country Financial studio. Chris Clayton here with you. Score update for Oregon lacrosse. 13-10. The Ducks and head coach Just Drummond have scored 8 goals in a row. They were down 10-5, and they have absolutely exploded at Eastern Michigan and have a 13-10 lead. Only 6:34 to go, so Oregon's in a really good position to snap this losing streak and get back in the win column. Ducks still looking for that first Big Ten win, but this is certainly a big step in the right direction as they look forward to playing at Northwestern at 11 a.m. on Sunday. Northwestern, a top 5 team in the country. That'll be a big challenge. It'll be nice to go into that with some confidence coming off a win, trying to build that momentum. It is a busy weekend in Duck sports. Track and field for Oregon competed yesterday. They're competing again today in Azusa, California, in the Brian Clay Multis. Beach volleyball just played number 19 FIU. Unfortunately, lost a tight one 3-2. They're playing the Huskies right now, actually, before playing again tomorrow. Baseball with their series starting tomorrow against Maryland. And they'll have a doubleheader on Sunday before the Ducks with Ryan Milano on the call play at Georgetown Monday. Men's and women's tennis in action as well. Today, softball in action as they play Game 1 of this series at Minnesota. You can watch on Big Ten Plus or listen on KWVA. I'm Chris Clayton. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the sunshine. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments.